watching Sweep the League. Subscribe and share.
Rudy Campos Jr. here from Sweep the League. Hey, make sure you go and follow Sherilyn on Instagram. Just search official Sherilyn on Instagram.
Hey, this is George Iceman Gervin, and you're listening to Sweep the League Radio.
We made it to halfway to the week. It's Wednesday. It's the We Got Next Wednesday edition of Sweep the League. And lo and behold, I have what, radio royalty joining me tonight with James Pledger, ESPN Sports Star, Sports Star San Antonio is here, man. So yeah, I've got radio royalty, one of the best producers in the game. Luckily, I've worked with Pledger a little bit here. I've done a couple of shows with him, but also, shout out to Pledge, him and guys like for us, Shemaya, our producer, Stats, our other producer. I mean, it's hard to do the producer life, Pledge. It really is, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very hard-working job with very little appreciation or it's a lot of grunt work and behind the scenes diving that you do to help kind of pull things off, but I wouldn't change it for the world.
I get you, man. I always thought, why am I not a producer? I'd love to do that job, but Shemaya is pretty much bald. I mean, I think that's by choice. You are like just putting in the hours, so I'm thinking, nah, I don't know if I want that kind of life. I want to do
You don't want to work all day and not sleep, and
I do that already. I mean, I'm up 6 o'clock in the morning working, sometimes earlier than that. I don't go to bed till 12, 1 o'clock. So I mean, I guess I have that producer life, man.
I mean, it's labor of love. More than anything, you do it because you love it. It's definitely not the paycheck.
Hey, I'm not going to speak to that.
That's just radio in general. That's just the profession that we're in. We all make fun of our paychecks, but seriously, I mean, it's labor of love. I mean, you do it and you grind at it because you love it. Like, a lot of people will put extraordinary amounts of work into things that they're passionate about. Your podcast, you're going to go above and beyond for things that you're truly passionate about. And I'm passionate about radio. I'm passionate about sports. I'm passionate about creating content. Like, these are things that really, hit me and stick with me. And I probably do it for free. No, I didn't say that, boss. Sorry.
Yeah, we'll have Shemaya edit that part for you if need be. Definitely do that, man. I'll be honest. I've always wanted a radio job and talk on radio and stuff, but if you love what you do, you don't have a work a day in your life. And that's kind of
that's so not true.
Really? Are you serious?
It's so not true. You're still working. You just enjoy your work aspect of life, because it's a lot like a lot of people say, buy a good bed because you spend half of your life in it, right? Asleep. Wow. Like, you spend more time than you realize actually asleep. Invest in a proper mattress. Well, you spend the other half of your life usually working. So make sure you enjoy what you do, because that way it makes it that much easier. Like, I've been at jobs where I've despised going in the next day. Like, it's not a great feeling. It brings your energy down. It brings your aura down. You get very volatile and snappy. Like, being in the right state of mind to start a day, period, just because you love what you're doing, you're already ahead of the game in life.
100%. Hey, advice from Pledge. I told you this is a show. It's life, laughs, sports. You got the life part out of the way. I mean, there's probably going to be more life lessons here later on in the show. We had Chris Leha in here. Says, "What up, fellas? Hope you're having a great week. The damn heat's no joke. Y'all be safe." Yes, the heat is no joke. That's why I have an office job. Pledge has an office job. I can't do outside work, man. I'd cook like the hams that there are out there.
I played golf with Jason and Joe and Rob and the guys here at the station on Saturday. We had a noon tea time. I felt like I was cooked by the end of that day. Like I've got the nice farmer tan right there. I like. And the sun just took it out of me. Like that night, I was whipped.
Oh, I could imagine, man. Especially golfing. Yeah, I'm not for that right now. I'm in the I can shoot. I'm about a 98 on the golf course, and then I have to play the back nine, and then
well, you fit in really well with the rest of our group. Me and Joe were obviously being a little bit more competitive with each other, while Jason and Rob were there to, bring the laughs, the beer, and
yeah, I'm the designated cart driver, so I can do that.
We all need one of those too.
I'll go ahead and wait for the invite to be the caddy. So you tell me what club you need. I have no idea what they give you, man. This is James Pledger, man. ESPN Sports Star San Antonio. You got our boy in here. Jeff Garcia, good friend of ours here. Lockdown Spurs at Chris Leha. He's asking Chris now, does Rudy clear MJ for the best sports host? Now, I know it's not Michael Jordan. I know it's not Michael Jackson. Is there another MJ that is a sports host? I've only got one guy in mind who we both know very well. I can't speak to that, but I'm assuming he's asking you and Leha who the best is between me and this MJ guy. I have no idea who that is.
Well, look.
You're on the spot. I
love working with everybody. Like it is always fun to come on Sweep the League with you. I always enjoy my time. And Jimenez will make me pull out my hair out from time to time. So
yeah, can't do that, man.
But he's a total blast to be around. Like Mike's my guy. I love Jimenez. He's like a brother to me. He's somebody that I kind of took an active part in tutoring after he won Rock the Mic, and actually sent him like some of our old Saturday morning hangover footage that we used to do back in the day, one of the cut-ups earlier today. But yeah, Mike's great. Rudy, you're fantastic. I always love being able to come on and converse with y'all and these mediums and just kind of, go in a bunch of different directions.
Oh yeah, it's funny because I've done radio too.
Yeah,
back in the day for a little bit there for about a year, and it's so different from podcasting because in radio world we have a script and we kind of got to get to this point to that point. You're kind of limited on time. You've got all these breaks in there. It's just so much work to do an actual radio show. Where podcasting, like you said, we're going to start on the rails, but then we're going to kind of teeter off to the left and hope that we stay on the rails. And then eventually we just go off the bridge.
And that's the great thing about here is we're very similar in that format. It's more structured, break times, et cetera, et cetera. But, we'll talk about anything and everything. And if a conversation goes in a direction, we're not scared to follow that direction just because we are supposed to maybe talk Cowboys in the next segment. We got 4 hours. We can find another segment to squeeze in Cowboys. It's the organic nature of conversation is one of the best things, and letting everything go the way it normally would in a conversation. Like Rob said this, Joe said this, Jason said this. We're just acting like a bunch of guys at the bar having a conversation with one another as anybody else would in the world. And it could turn to sports. It could turn to something else. Like, as you know, our friend Jeff Garcia from Locked On Spurs commented in, there was an article that he posted today about this very rare Wemby 1-of-1 card that was pulled. And a debate was ensued about some of the drawings on that card and what they possibly were. And you, of course, have the alien, you have the spaceship, you have the mustache. But then there was this nondescript thing on his side of his head that looks very particular that Jeff insinuate, you know, like, and Wemby is an anime type guy. He said bead of sweat, and I can see that. But at first glance, without knowing what it is, your mind's already there. You're laughing. You know what I'm talking about.
I know what it is. It's a swimmer. I mean, it looked like a swimmer. We have to be G-rated in a way, but it's a swimmer. I mean, there was no doubt in my mind that it looked like that. And you know what? I tried to play it off because my daughter was there when I looked at the picture, and she's like, "Oh, look, spaceship. Oh, what is that?" And I said, "You know, in the Hispanic culture, because Wemby is in San Antonio."
You did not play culture card, did you?
I did play the culture card. I said in the Hispanic culture, Mija, there's times when, you know, bad people do bad things and they get a teardrop tattoo on their face. That is Wemby's teardrop. He's going to murder the league next season, and that is the teardrop that you get when you're a bad person. He's a bad guy in the league. So I had to play that. I could have just come out and say, this is the birth, you know, of a child right here going down Wemby's face. I can't.
Oh, not if it's on his face. It's not.
Well, yeah, obviously it's not going to go anywhere if it's on the side of his face. But I can't just come out and say that. You know, that's something that we cannot do here. First, or even to my daughter. But real quick, Leja's in here. He says Rudy doesn't talk out of his like Jimenez, so apparently Rudy clears. I guess I got a couple of fans. He does a job because he loves it. I love the money. David's in here, says, "What's up, guys? What is up, David?" Frank's in here, the GOAT. I'm assuming he's talking to you because I'm definitely not GOAT.
Oh, he's got to be talking about you.
No. It's definitely not me, because his next comment is definitely you can catch Pledge, extra innings with Pledge, man. You definitely want to catch that show. It's all about Pledge. It's Pledge. It's all about Pledge. It's Pledge all day, all night, no matter what. I refuse a man would draw a sperm covering his face. Pledge.
I mean, I refuse to believe that as well.
I do too.
Like, I know things are weird in France, but I don't think it's that weird.
What I mean, I don't even know what the weirdest thing in France is. I
you know, frog legs are French, right?
Huh?
Frog legs are French.
They are? Well, that can't be the weirdest thing. Not in France.
No, I didn't say the weirdest. I'm just saying it's, you know, it's the land of weird.
It is the land.
They have berets. They did the skinny capris. I think they were the first on the scene with that. Mm-hmm. Like they, you know.
There's nothing wrong with berets, though. I would probably rock a beret. I don't think.
I mean, if that's your style, that's your style. Not everybody can pull off a beret, though.
I don't know if I could. I think I would probably look like Rusty from National Lampoons, you know, kind of have that weird look from back in the day. So no man would draw a swimmer on his face on purpose unless French people are a bit freaky. We definitely do. The French people are a bit freaky. Before we move on here, man, shout out to JC as well. Evening, gents. What are we talking about tonight? Teardrops cause alien friend left. Yeah, we're going to call it a teardrop here. Quick, let me get to the shout outs here. Definitely, you got Special Leaf Tea. Tonight, I'm drinking the Tangerine Ginger. Burger Boy Burgers, another partner of Sweep the League. Mudslingers Coffee, the Friday edition of Sweep the League. We're giving away some Mudslinger gift cards. So definitely want to tune in there. Hey, if you're going to sling mud, do it at Mudslingers 100% of the time, man. Not only that, La Casina food truck. It's in New Braunfels. It's the best food truck in New Braunfels. We're going to be shooting some commercials out there for Louis over at La Casina food truck. So we got a bunch of guys on here. Sports Insanity Network, all a part of the Sweep the League TV, Sweep the League channel. Follow us on YouTube. We are with James Pledger. I guarantee we're going to talk sports. Everybody's dying to talk sports. They say women don't shave their pits over there. That's what I was going to mention. I was going to mention that. That has to be one of the weirdest things.
That's a thing too. Yeah.
But it's not weird in their culture. It's weird in our culture. So I think
well, I know, but that's what I'm saying. Like, you know, they do some things over there that we just don't do here.
They really
maybe that's one. Probably not, but I'm going to go because Wemby's an anime guy.
We got
anime beads of sweat get kind of, and he's drawing it with a Sharpie. Like, how great can his pen skills be? It's got to, especially if it's a fat tip Sharpie, like it's going to be bigger because
I'm trying
to make a connection here.
You are definitely trying really hard to make that connection
because I don't want this to be true about him.
Well, what is wrong with I'm looking at the thing now.
What is wrong with having a swimmer on your face?
No. I'm not talking about that part. I'm trying to say, like, what is, like, you're trying not to make it weird, but it's already weird. I mean, I don't know how else to put it. I'm looking at it right now and I'm trying to think, well, can I blow it up to show everybody? But you know what? Go to Jeff Garcia's X page. You look at it, you decide for yourself. I mean, I'm looking.
Are you afraid you're going to get censored on here if you show that picture blown up?
I definitely won't get censored. Let me bring this up. It's kind of hard because I can't really. I don't have the technology side of things, but here it is right here. So let's see if we can get it even bigger. So that's about as big as I can get it there. You're looking at the picture. You got the autograph. You got
no. You can click on the picture. It'll
take me to. It'll actually take me to.
Oh, that's the website link.
Yeah, that'll be the website. So that's the link there. But for those of y'all, see, you look on the side. I mean, it's got a thin body. You know, it's got a bigger head. I mean, it does look like. Could it be a loogie? Pledge? I mean,
no, he didn't get spit on.
We could pass for a loogie. I mean, it could. Let's be real. It could.
I mean, a drop of sweat. I'm rolling with the drop of sweat.
But a drop of sweat, it's beads, man. Like you get little drops. You don't get.
Yeah, but it falls out. Remember the Gatorade commercials? Like you had that long streak that would go down when they changed the color of the Gatorade to the color of the sweat.
You know what? You are making a valid point. So we can call this the sweat. We'll call it a sweat, not a swimmer. It's a different SW word. We'll say sweat.
It is not the bead of sweat. It is the streak of sweat.
We'll call it's a streak of sweat. Either way, the guy that pulled this card is rich. We're just gonna say.
Yeah, that feels like it's worth a lot of money. When you're talking about a guy like Victor, and it is an absolute one of one.
Yeah, it's you're pulling six figures, especially if you get it graded. It grades high.
Oh, it's already graded out 10-10.
Oh God, then yeah, it's minimum six figures. I'm probably putting it at the $250,000 start range. So before we go to commercial, before we bring up some stuff here, before we get into sports talk, quick tidbit. I pulled, and I've got pictures. I'll shoot you text messages with them. I pulled a Luka Doncic Prism rookie card autographed out of 10, gold out of 10.
Ooh.
So I got it. I pulled it at a show. It was at a local show that we have in San Antonio. It was back a long time ago. Got it graded that Wednesday. Pulled it on a Sunday. Graded on a Wednesday. I feel like I'm, Solomon Grundy here. Pulled it on Sunday. Graded on a Wednesday, and I sold it maybe like 2 weeks later for $7,500. Pledge. That's
how much is that worth right now?
That same card right now, I'd be living in my brand new home for free. Because the last time it was sold, it's only been sold one other time, and this was a couple of years back. It sold for $35,000.
Yep.
Now,
imagine if he adds a Finals MVP to it in about 7 days.
I regret. That's kind of the reason why I got a card collecting, because I screwed up big time on that Luka card. Definitely. Yeah, we're talking to James Pledger. We're going to get into some sports talk here. This is Rudy Campos versus James Pledger. We're going to do a quick commercial break. When we come back, it's football talk. I guarantee you we're going to talk football with James Pledger, Sports Star San Antonio. We'll be back. Yeah, so JC's back in here. Says, yeah, a couple hundred for the teardrop sweat stain. Yeah, I would say probably a couple 100,000 for that teardrop sweat stain. Good call on that. We're gonna call it the sweat stain, the streaky sweat stain on that Victor card. But nonetheless, man, NFL season's coming up. We are vastly approaching the NFL season here, and we've seen your Houston Texans not just improve, but just become monsters of the midway. And I'm using that because I want to use that. Houston Texans just made a ton of great moves, and they're not the only team that improved in the offseason. We saw Kansas City add to the receiving core. You just gave Patrick Mahomes a lot more weapons. Not only that, I mean, you can say the whole Kirk Cousins fiasco adds a little bit to Atlanta as well. I think it does make them division champs at minimum. Other teams in the league that we've seen improve. I talked to you on the phone a while back, maybe about a week ago, and I mentioned the Tennessee Titans as a team that I have as a sleeper team.
Okay.
And I do like what they've done. Offensive line has been shored up. I like the receiving core they have there. Tony Pollard's not sexy, but it makes sense if you're losing Derrick Henry. Their defense with Lavarius Sneed is a good addition. I think they're a team that could surprise, but the moves in the offseason, let's not use the Texans right now because that is your team. Give me some teams that you feel made the right moves in the offseason to put them in place to maybe be Super Bowl contenders, but definitely improve to where it's playoffs now for these guys.
I mean, you've hit a couple of them. The Kansas City Chiefs obviously did a lot this offseason, revamping that receiving core that was so putrid this past season. Mm-hmm. The Atlanta Falcons are a team that in a bad division, you add a quarterback, the weapons they have. I think just changing the coach and the offensive philosophy really helps that team out. And having a coach that will actually utilize a Bijan Robinson, a Kyle Pitts, and a Drake London instead of, trying to get other people the ball for whatever reason, Tyler Algiers and Jonnu Smith. I don't know what he's doing over there, but Arthur Smith had some idea of what he wanted to do. It just didn't align with the capital they invested in players.
Yeah, tell me.
So having competent leadership, I think, at the very top with the coach, coordinators, I think that's a good start for Atlanta. I think the Jets had a really good offseason. Mm-hmm. I think the additions they made with the receivers in the draft, the Tyron Smith at left tackle, they revamped the offensive line even more. I think that was very, very good for a Jets team that knows it's in a short win now mode with Aaron Rodgers, and they're trying to maximize that window, especially with him coming off that injury. So I thought they did a very good job. The Washington Commanders, low-key, had a fantastic offseason. When you look at the linebackers that they added, Bobby Wagner, Lovo, they added on defense with Johnny Newton, Jerzon Newton, out of Illinois in the draft, and Mike Sandersill, who out of Michigan, who is a phenomenal slot corner. I think he's going to be really good for that defense. And you talk about, the defensive line that they have in Washington with Payne and everybody. I mean, that is just a sick rotation of guys that they can throw at you on that defensive line. And of course, the big addition, that being Dan Quinn on defense, a guy that knows how to get turnovers, how to make, and they bolstered that side of the football. And then you add the piece that's been missing on the other side of the ball with Jaden Daniels, who, in my opinion, yes, was the second best quarterback in this draft. He is accurate down the field. He gives you a little bit of wiggle. And he's big, he's a bigger guy. It's not like you're worried about him getting blown up. He looks skinny, but I think that's just because of his size. Mm-hmm. And that could be a surprise team in the NFC East this year. just with Dan Quinn, the way he turns around defenses as quickly as they do, and with the pieces they added. If it's not like Jaden Daniels is walking into a bad situation offensively that's bereft of weapons. He's got Brian Robinson. He's got Gibson. He's got
like Jahan Dotson as well.
Jahan Dotson. He's got
McLaurin.
Clarence, but they also drafted Willie really well. Ben Sinnott, I think, out of Kansas State, is a phenomenal tight end. And a great addition to that offense. I mean, they've got weapons. It's not like he's coming into a bad situation. I think there's not the potential for like Texans all the way into the second round of the playoffs kind of jump, but I could see them really threatening teams and, 7 to 9 wins for the Washington Commanders this year.
Yeah, Washington it's a surprise team for me. Another team that did a lot in the offseason, also adding Austin Eckler into the backfield for Washington. They just made all the right moves. Not only that, I mean, the bringing in of Kingsbury as well. I mean, they've got the
perfect offensive coordinator for that quarterback. In my opinion, I think it's going to be really well. Cliff's done the college thing. He's done the pro thing. So that he's got an offense that he can adapt to help Jaden Daniels kind of transition into the NFL without putting too much on him too quickly in terms of all of the NFL schematics. He's going to make it a little bit easier for him to transition, similar to the way he did Kyler Murray when he was in Arizona. I also think the Chicago Bears had a really nice offseason. You look at the additions that they brought in. You look at the re-signings they have with like Jalen Johnson. Like they killed it. DeAndre Swift. Trading last year they got DJ Moore. This year they traded for Keenan Allen. They had a Roma Dunze. They have Cole Kmet, Caleb Williams. I mean, Chicago looks really, really good. And the NFC North is getting better and better and better as a whole. And it looks like the Minnesota Vikings are, with the highest paid non-position player, is going to be the worst team in that division.
Yeah, I'm not a huge, and this is on record many times, I am not a big Caleb Williams fan.
Why don't you like him?
So, okay, he hangs onto the ball a whole lot. He tries to do a lot more.
Does Patrick Mahomes hang onto the ball a lot?
Yes, but with Patrick Mahomes, it's a total different type of player. Mahomes keeps his eyes downfield. Mahomes, when he scrambles, I mean, he's already a couple of steps ahead. When Caleb scrambles, Caleb is panicking. Just looking at a lot of the game film, Caleb is panicking. He reminds me a lot of Popke from Necessary Roughness. When he would scramble, he would kind of run around. Eyes would come off the target, and then he would kind of see a small window of opportunity. And
I want you to go back, and I want you to look at not Patrick Mahomes in the NFL, not right this second. Look at Patrick Mahomes at Texas Tech.
Okay.
See if you see similarities.
I can go back and look at that. I didn't really look at the Patrick Mahomes at Texas Tech.
So you're trying to compare him to a finished product that is considerably one of the greatest quarterbacks in the NFL history, or at least trending that way. Like, it's hard to make that comparison coming out of college. You got to look at now the one thing that Pat has going for him that Caleb does not is he got to sit for a year behind Alex Smith, learn from Alex Smith, and had Andy Reid as a head coach and offensive coordinator to kind of help bring him along. That's the one difference that Patrick Mahomes has that Caleb Williams does not. But I do see a lot of elements to Caleb's. A lot of the things that people don't like about Caleb Williams are ancillary things. They don't like that he cried. They don't like that he went and cried in his mom's arms when they got knocked out of, the national championship race this year as early as it happened. They don't like that he paints his fingernails. They don't like his fashion. Like they don't like things that have nothing to do with football. And the question is, do the guys in that locker room
honestly
like
man,
him?
Well,
and the guys at USC swear up and down that A, Caleb's a leader, and B, they would go to bat for Caleb whenever. This is a guy that played through a bunch of things. He could have shut it down after their second loss of the season. There was no chance of a Heisman or a national trophy. He played out the year up until the final couple games when it was just pointless and USC needed to look to the future anyway. So it was kind of beneficial for both parties. But Caleb gave them everything he had this year when he didn't have to.
And this is my biggest knock on Caleb. And again, the dress part, the fingernail part, the crying did concern me just from an analytical and an analyst type of what I was looking at. It concerned me, but what concerned me the most was,
why does the crying concern you?
To me, it's concerning because when you're in the NFL, especially at the Bears level, you're a rookie starter, you're probably going to lose a lot more than you're going to win in the first year. That's a big thing. So the crying concerned me to the point of, okay, I get it. You're emotional. I love emotions. That's part of the game.
Remember, this was coming off the field after a loss that literally knocked him out of any chance of being in any sort of national champion, which was the reason of playing this season. Like his whole thing was about winning a natty this year.
So it's about when he gets knocked out of the playoffs, what Caleb are we going to get? Because the chances of the Bears making the playoffs, I'd say literally are 50-50 right now. They have the roster.
Yeah.
It comes down to Caleb Williams. So if Caleb is struggling at the beginning of the year, it's the mentality part, man. Can he bounce back? Can those guys pull around him?
You're acting like he was crying in the middle of the game.
No, it has nothing to do with the crying. That's what I'm trying to say.
No, that's what I was saying, though, because you said the crying bothers me. So I'm asking, what is it about the crying that bothers you?
The thing that bothered me about the crying is, like I said, it's an emotional part, but to me, it was a knock on his mental game. Overall, it was a knock on his mental game.
How so?
Because the thing with me is, if you're going to lose in the NFL, you're going to lose a lot.
Sure.
If you're crying because you're out of a national championship game, I get it. You're emotional. I totally understand that. But it was everything that happened after that. You saw the struggles on the field. You saw the continued struggles on the field. You saw the emotion to where he actually didn't give a damn on some plays.
You talk about the struggles on the field. I mean, they still scored like 40 points a game. They were losing, but it's not like it was Caleb Williams' fault they were losing.
I've never blamed Caleb for USC's struggle or anything like that. When I look at a lot of these games and I'm looking at the prospects coming to the NFL, I look at them and them only. I can care less what the defense does. I can care less what this lineman does, anything like that. I know it's out of his control. So I never look at anything like that. I look at mechanics. I look at, his eyes downfield. I look at emotions. When the play happens, if he overthrows a receiver, what is his reaction on that play? Is it, God, you know what? I missed it. Or is it times where when Caleb throws, he's just kind of like, like this, like, is it his fault? Is it my fault? A lot of times it's their fault. So I'm looking at more emotion side, and that's where I see in the NFL. It's a 10 times faster game than what we saw in college. So I've never said I want him to struggle. I don't wish struggle upon anybody when they are a rookie in any league. But I do see the struggles to start. Will that mean he's going to be a terrible quarterback? No. Peyton Manning was a bad quarterback when he came into the NFL. He had a horrible rookie season. It takes time. I'm giving Caleb the normal 3 to 4 years to see his development. Can he develop? Yes, he can develop. Anyone can develop. But for me, it's 100% mental for Caleb Williams. I believe he has the talent. I just don't think he has the mindset for it. That's my opinion on that.
I mean, that's everyone's entitled to their opinion. But to me, when I don't, the crying after the game, like that's an ancillary emotion I could care less about. It's not something it's not like he was crying during the middle of a play or in a huddle. He keeps his emotions in check on the field for the most part. and he plays with passion. Like that passion can overflow, and at the end of the game, he may let it out. That's fine by me. That I think that's a good thing. The fact of the matter that we want everybody to fit into the same cookie cutter version of what we think something is, it's not what it is. That's not life. Everybody leads differently. Leadership is not a one size fits all quality or trait. Nobody's going to lead the same way Tom Brady does. Nobody's going to lead the same way Patrick Mahomes does. Nobody's going to lead the same way Dak Prescott does. They all lead in their own simple, different ways, right? I told this story today on air of CJ Stroud. They asked a question about, when did you think that he had what it took to be a leader? And they said during his pre-draft visit. And a lot of teams will say stuff like that, but it's the backing up of what they said. It was, he went to the lunchroom, he sat down, players, vets, working building all gravitated around him and were holding conversations with all of them, and everybody was engaged, and he kind of commanded a presence just in the lunchroom of dealing with things. And then when they drafted him and got him on the field, like he had a couple of different handshakes with a couple of guys he met during that line. Still did those same handshakes that he knew from what they did when he was at that lunch. And now coming into this year, he's got seemingly a different handshake for every single player on the team that he has with them. I mean, it's incredible just that he can remember all that stuff, which tells you how quickly he was able to ingest the playbook anyway and comprehend it, but just, his ability to connect with people on a personal level. That's how you get people to follow you. The play will come. People will rally around your play, but he had players rallied around him before he ever took a single snap in a practice. Like he had people, Laramie Tunsil, one of the most respected left tackles in all of football, was calling him QB1 by the end of like mini camps before training camp started. Like there's a personality trait that people exude, and it's the way you connect with people on a level both on and off the field. And quarterbacks, kind of all leaders, not just quarterbacks, both sides of the ball, linebacker, whoever is the leaders, captains of your team, they have a way of ingraining themselves with the people in that locker room, no matter who they are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get that completely, man. And with CJ Stroud, it's kind of funny because he was the best quarterback in that class. And when I saw that Carolina took Bryce Young, who, I mean, if you really looked at Bryce Young, he was not ready for the NFL at all. CJ
was he not ready for the NFL, or is he put in a horrible situation?
So I've been saying for a long time already that if you have CJ on Carolina, they do win more games. CJ coming out of Ohio State.
1-2 more games?
I would probably put minimum 2, but right around maybe 3 more total.
I mean, so he was just dropped into a bad situation then.
Possibly, and it could be different this year. I mean, Carolina.
I mean, you're talking about a horrible offensive line with a horrible head coach. I don't think anybody in their right mind thinks that Frank Reich is a great head coach or offensive play caller. For that, Mac.
No.
So like he's in a bad offensive system with a bad play caller, with a bad head coach, with a bad ownership group, with bad talent around him, in front of a bad offensive line with no weapons. Like, yeah, it's going to be hard for any quarterback to thrive in that type of situation.
Understandable, and that's what I love about you. You're so positive about every situation, man. You got to find the good in it, and I love that. That's perfect.
I mean. There's good and bad in everything. Could it be that Bryce Young is too small, the game's too fast, that he can't make the throws? Sure. But I also know what I saw at Alabama against some of the best defenses in all of college football on a weekly basis. Like if you surround people with talent, you give them a better opportunity to succeed, and especially early. It is one thing to learn and then have pieces taken away, and just being a veteran of the NFL and football, you know how to overcome certain strifes and struggles and what to lean on where. That's how Patrick Mahomes, like, give Patrick Mahomes the weapons he had last year in his rookie year and see if he has the same 50 touchdown season for his first year. It's not going to happen. It's
definitely not.
Everything is about circumstance and situation. What circumstance were you dropped into? What situation were you dropped into? And how have you taken advantage of it? Dak Prescott was dropped into a pretty good situation his rookie year with one of the best offensive lines in football, a Des Bryant on the outside, a Jason Witten as a tight end, a pretty good defense, and the best running back in football drafted at number 4 overall at that time, Zeke Elliott, and they rode that all the way into the second round of the playoffs. I mean, he is a circumstance where the stars aligned for him, and he continued to throw. Now, what happened towards the end of his rookie deal? They were like, all right, your leading receivers are going to be Allen Hurns and Cole Beasley and Bryce Butler. Go out there and make something happen. And then they had to trade for Amari Cooper in the middle of the season because it was a complete and utter bleep show, right?
Yeah.
So, weapons help quarterbacks. There's only one Patrick Mahomes. There was only one Tom Brady. Not everybody can take nothing and make something out of it. A lot of these guys need help.
I agree. I do agree. And that's why I say I give my quarterbacks, rookie guys, I give them 3 to 4 years.
That's why I'm so sad about the Justin Fields thing in Chicago too, because if he would have had the opportunity with this roster, my goodness gracious.
Well, that's my beef. And that's what I tell people a lot. I'm like, y'all don't understand. The Bears were in the perfect situation, the perfect storm. You know what? Draft Caleb at 1. Care less, but you keep Justin. Let Justin play. Let Caleb sit. But then it goes back to what I was saying.
And that helps everybody, by the way, because if you let Justin play and you let Caleb learn, a la Patrick Mahomes did his rookie year behind Alex Smith, by the time the end of the season comes, you could potentially flip Justin Fields for more than a 6th-round pick if he plays well.
Yeah. Oh, yes, definitely. You can definitely flip Justin for way more than what you got. But that was the perfect storm. Have Caleb learn, have Justin lead. And you know what? If you have Justin Fields in Chicago, I'm talking easily probably divisional champs. I have them right there with Detroit.
Detroit's right there. Detroit's really good.
Detroit is my Super Bowl pick this year. I have them winning it all. But I can put the Bears there with Detroit, with Justin Fields. Obviously, the Packers are the Packers. I mean, those 3 teams coming out of the North.
It's going to be a fun division to watch.
It's going to be awesome. And if Caleb turns out the way that people are hoping that he does turn out, then you're damn right that's going to be a fun division. And to say that the absolute probably maybe best player in that division won't have a QB by his side, that's kind of sad. But hey, that's the way the chicken lays basically the egg in Minnesota for that, because it happened like that. You lost Kirk Cousins, but again, it comes back to the whole CeeDee Lamb thing for the Cowboys. I mean, I've been in massive debates lately over the CeeDee Lamb thing.
All right, what about CeeDee?
So last night I talked about it. I said you've got, and I've talked about it the past couple of nights. You're going to pay 3 guys, and you mentioned it on the show. You're paying 3 guys. We don't know what the cap. Let's say the cap space is where it is right now. So you have your choice.
And if you look at good teams, they've all got 3 guys that are paid very, very, very exorbitant, like usually. All the good teams.
Yeah, definitely. So what do you pay CD? Do you pay him Justin Jefferson money? How close do you get to it?
Yeah.
I mean,
you absolutely do.
So, and that's the case. You pay.
Can you look at CD's numbers, compare them to Justin Jefferson's, and go, yeah, these guys are in 2 separate leagues?
No, I mean, I'm not arguing the fact that they're not identical. I say you pay him, but if you're going to pay him, you don't do a Minnesota and not pay a Dak Prescott. You've got to keep Dak because there's no QB out there you can go get. There's no one that's going to trade anybody to give you a quarterback like Dak Prescott.
And please, can we stop with the Trey Lance stuff?
Thank you. Another person has said it. Please, you've got to stop. There's a reason why the Niners gave up on him. There's a reason why the Niners shipped him out and packed his bags for him to get him out of San Francisco. Trey Lance is not the answer. He will not be the answer.
They saw something that they didn't like. Now, could a different system do him better? Absolutely. But to think that a different system's going to turn him into a top 10 quarterback in the NFL is absolutely ridiculous. This is really hard. Like, quarterbacks are really hard to come by in the NFL. Just look at the list of quarterbacks that you would want leading your team. If you were a fan of, let's just say, the Seattle Seahawks, and you knew you needed a quarterback, Geno Smith ain't the guy, right? We all know he's outside the top 15, correct?
Yeah.
But if I could put a top 15 quarterback up there, I'd be in a pretty good situation in Seattle, wouldn't I?
Oh yeah. I mean,
with those receivers, with those running backs,
Walker. I mean, you've got a lot of talent in Seattle. So yeah, if top 15 quarterback makes sense, and that's what I was saying was, if you're going to pay CD all this money, then you have to stop with the Dak talk. He's gonna stay. He's got to stay. You've got to pay him. You're not going to go pay CD and have Cooper Rush throwing to him the entire time. It makes no sense to pay CD Lamb then all that money. So if you're taking one guy who's the odd man out, I've said it was Micah Parsons is the odd man out. And my fight, it's not going to happen. Let's be real, it's not going to happen. But although
the hole they could get for a Micah
it's huge.
That would be impressive.
I mean, it's no Herschel Walker deal, but it can be up there. You can get a massive haul from Micah Parsons, but
you're getting at least 2 firsts.
Easily. So that brings up to the point that I was making is you take Dak, you take CD, you take Micah. Out of those 3 positions, the absolute hardest one to fill is the quarterback position. You can easily go into the draft and get a wide receiver 1 these days. And you can get him in the 6th round, 5th round, anywhere. So to say replacing CD Lamb, very possible. You can get a wide receiver 1. Now, the Micah Parsons thing, we're starting to see more hybrid linebackers, defensive ends. These guys are getting to be that special when it comes to the draft. So if you see Parsons go, I'm not necessarily crying at that because of the talent coming in. These kids are getting way stronger, way faster, way better. So if it's me, I'm either buy Parsons or buy CD because I can replace one of those guys easily in a draft. That's my argument out of those 3 positions.
Yeah, I mean, if you had to pick one, I get it. But I'm not picking one. I'm picking 3. Like I'm building my team and my future around a quarterback, a receiver, and a pass rusher. Like that, most teams are. You may swap a quarterback or a pass catcher for a left tackle or for a corner. Like every team's built a little bit differently. But I look at the way that offense cooked last season under Mike McCarthy, and this is all subject on I'm dealing with the things that I know to be true, right? Though Mike McCarthy told us after they fired Kellen Moore that sometimes you just want to run the damn ball, and I immediately came on the next day and called cap. Like, I've seen you as a play caller, Mike McCarthy. Running the football is not something that you believe in. That is absolute cap. And it proved to be true this year. Now, they tried to force it a little at the beginning of the season, and the offense looked a little wonky, and it didn't work, and it just kind of looked off kilter. But also, remember, kind of first year in a new offense, first few games in a new offense. When did the offense start to cook? It was after the San Francisco 49ers loss in which CD threw a tantrum on the sideline. And from there on, CD 8, CD 8, CD 8. He ate 8.
Yeah.
Because he broke all Irvin's records. Catches, yards, CD's at the top of all Cowboy receiving history.
Yeah.
You know who got him the ball? Dak Prescott. Dak
Easy.
Prescott was second in the MVP voting. Second.
Yeah.
Yet Cowboys fans want to throw him away like he's a piece of trash. Yeah, he had a bad playoff game. Sucks. Yeah, I've seen good quarterbacks have bad playoff games. Look, it took Peyton Manning 8 years to win a Super Bowl. Look, it took John Elway his entire career to finally win one. Look, Dan Marino never won one. He got to one and never got close again. There are different timelines. Dak is lucky. He is in the NFC. He's got a clearer path than anyone in the AFC has to deal with. It is murderer's gauntlet of quarterbacks of Burrow and Allen and CJ and Lamar and Mahomes at the top of that list, blocking the way to a Super Bowl every year.
Yeah.
In the NFC, you got Brock Purdy and you got Jared Goff and you got Jalen Hurts and Dak Prescott. Those are the best quarterbacks in that division by a landslide, by a mile, and it's not even close. And Dak Prescott, as long as he is on the Cowboys with some sort of supporting cast, then they have a chance to make a run in the playoffs because all you got to do is get hot. The New York Giants proved to us multiple times, you just got to get hot at the right time. The problem is the Cowboys always get hot earlier in the middle of the season, and then it kind of falls out late in the season, right? So they just got to work on their timing of peaking. The Mahomes and the Chiefs have kind of perfected this of wonky middle or beginning of the season, trying to get their footing, treading water, and then boom, comes December, they turn it on, they start playing their best football. Defense is playing at elite level for most of the season. The offense finally gets on track late. Everything's running together as they head towards the playoffs.
Yeah.
Good teams kind of know when to peak, right? The problem is the Cowboys always seem to peak too early. There's the home game win streak. I always thought that loss to the Lions in the regular season, what should have been a loss, that would have actually helped them in a way.
Yeah.
It would have recalibrated them mentally instead of them just feeling like gods at home and it's preordained for them to win there. I think that's kind of what happened in a way against Green Bay. You're dealing with a wild card team. It was a team that got hot at the end of the year. And, you know, you're undefeated at home. You walk in with this sense of confidence and swagger and air. And all of a sudden, that air gets taken out of the balloon real quick with a couple of quick touchdowns. And then you're scrambling. And then there's a couple of quick picks. And one of them's returned for a touchdown. And next thing you know, it is 28-3. And you don't know what just smacked you as you're going into halftime.
Aaron Jones looking like Barry Sanders and Walter Payton, you know, going through that game there. But yeah, man, I mean, Ryan's in here saying, so out of the three, you take Dak and CD and let Micah walk.
No, I'm keeping all three.
No.
All three.
If you had to let one walk, is what we're saying.
But I don't have to. That's the point. That's the whole point. The salary cap keeps going up. It has gone up 40%.
Yes, I know.
In the last 4 years.
They're not going to walk. Let's just say they're not going to walk. But if it ever came down to it.
You're basically asking me marry F. Kill.
Sure, why not? Bench, start,
cut, whatever.
Yeah.
You're asking me I have to get rid of one of those.
What is the cut? What is the cut then? Because
if I'm cutting, the easiest thing to find is a receiver.
Very, very easy.
I'm cutting CD if I have, like, if you're telling me these are your three options and you have to assign an option to each of these players, I'm cutting CD only because wide receivers are much more plentiful in the NFL, and coming out of college, they translate a lot quicker now than they ever have before. It used to take them a couple of years to kind of figure out the NFL, figure out new route trees, but the game's hybrided so much between college and the NFL that they're having a more seamless adaptation into the NFL than they've ever had before. And they're also, because of the constant training that they do, just position specific with position specific coaches away from their own teams, even colleges, high schools. Like your individual specific training as a receiver now much earlier than you ever have. And I think that's also leading itself to a lot more people translating a lot faster into the NFL.
Yeah, and for me, like I said, it's Parsons, because if you're keeping Dak, you want to give him that number one. You want to give him one of the best receivers in the game, keeping CeeDee Lamb. Again, what you mentioned for the receiver side, I mentioned for the defensive side. You've got a bunch of hybrid guys coming in. You're seeing, I mean, look at the guys that came in recently. Like,
but do you have a bunch of guys coming in like Micah? Like there's a bunch of guys, and then there's guys like Micah.
That's the tough part. But then but you know what?
Is he one of them?
Pledge. I've always said this to everybody. Even Jeff Garcia goes bonkers with it. Because if I am a GM, I take calls on everybody. You want to call me about the guy that's selling peanuts? If
you're a GM, I can literally call you about Wemby.
You can call me about Wemby. I've said it before. I've said, Jeff, if I'm GM and you called me about Tim Duncan, I'm taking the call. Doesn't mean I'm going to do anything.
That's fair. Yeah, you always take the call.
You always take the call. So
because you never know when even talking about Wemby can just naturally transition into, all right, but what about Devin Ann?
Exactly. You take the call. So if Miami calls and says, hey, what do you want for Micah? I'm willing to offer you 2 firsts, 2 seconds, and XXX. You don't think I'm like, God bless. Okay. Let me think on that. It's Micah Parsons.
2 firsts, 2 seconds?
I mean, it's Micah Parsons.
You can do a lot of damage with that. No salary cap room and 2 firsts, 2 seconds.
Exactly. So you always take the call.
You always take the call.
I mean, you always got to take it. So for me, it's Micah.
I agree with that. Even with Tim Duncan, because you never know when a silly conversation can turn into something more plentiful for someone else.
And that's, my thing. Okay, so if Denver calls you and says, you know what, we love Wemby. We're not going to get him from you, but let me try. Let me give you 3 firsts, the next 3 firsts. We're going to give you Jamal Murray, Porter, and you know what? We'll give you the MVP in Jokic just for Wemby. Are you saying no?
You want to be a championship team quicker.
Exactly.
You just kind of built yourself a championship team right there.
You don't have to give up Devin. You don't have to give up certain people. It's just one player and a Devontae Graham. But yet I'm sending you 3 of my best, and I'm going to give you 3 first. You got to take the call because there are morons running teams out there. Let's be honest. There's some rookie guys out there running them. I mean, we've all seen draft day when Jeff Carson made that trade and all this other stuff. And Kevin Costner, his character, got this. It happens, man. You take the call. So you know what? Call me about Wemby. I don't care. It doesn't mean I'm going to do it. Now, if you're offering me a James Pleasure tie, I probably will take it right away. Because he is the best dressed man in radio, man. Greatest Cowboys receiver of all time. They love the Mary F. Kill segment we just did. Let's get to Sith here. Shout out to Sith, man. Thanks for joining. A pleasure. But with that being said, trading Micah could see it possibly getting 2 defenders for the price of 1, which wouldn't be bad. That's not another CD player out there. Yeah. I mean,
look, I'm not opposed. You got to know what a trade looks like before you can say it's good or bad for the most part. But, it's very hard to turn down a generational pass rusher like Micah Parsons in terms of just his ability to disrupt, like just straight up disrupt. It doesn't even have to come down to the sacks. The sacks eventually always come, but his pass rush win rate is off there. You look at his advanced metrics, the amount of attention he commands that frees up other people. Now, if the Cowboys could get somebody on the other side of him to take advantage of those situations, it would be even more impressive. But
it could happen. It could happen. And when it does, I'm going to text you and be like, why is Micah gone now? It's happening. It's happening, players. They want to sweep the league shirt. So sweep the league shirts out there. I'm working on a distributor. So for all you guys want to order one, we'll get you the information that want to order a sweep the league shirt. Come January, Micah hasn't been doing anything that stands out. I don't follow the Cowboys too much. So I can't really comment on a whole bunch.
He wears down as the season goes on. But it's mainly because they're playing him a undersized, 250, 55-pound guy exclusively at defensive end. And, that's going to wear on you at the end of the season. All the chips, all the running backs getting you coming out of the backfield right in your rib cage, like as you're engaged with the defensive lineman, the tight end coming across and getting you, like all of these hits end up taking advantage. Now, will Mike Zimmer, who wants to use him more fluidly in terms of linebacker, rush and hybrid, like that's going to be interesting to kind of see the way that he's utilized, because it's not going to be as specific as it was where you're right in for Dan Quinn. He's going to be coming from a bunch of different angles, and does playing him at linebacker some more and him shooting gaps help to preserve him as the season goes on.
Yeah, 100%, man. I can understand that completely. Tim's in here. Shout out to Tim Gonzalez. He's always joining us. The Spurs package: Johnson, Sohan, Vassell, and 3 first-round picks for Jason Tatum. I'm hanging up the phone on that, Tim. I'm not giving that much up for Jason Tatum.
Really?
No, not for Tatum. Now, the players, I'm 100% for on the players. It's the picks that I'm kind of like, maybe.
Well, you get to keep the picks. Oh, no. Okay,
no,
3 first-round picks. I see it.
3 first. All that.
Well, it depends. Are they your own picks or are they Atlanta's picks?
Well, that's the thing. If it's 2 firsts this year.
If they're my picks, I'm in.
Yeah, and that makes sense, but it depends on what picks it is. I think you're probably end up keeping either a Vassell or Johnson. I don't think Boston would take both of those guys.
I think you're looking to keep Vassell or Sohan.
I think Boston would really want Sohan just because of the depth they're going to need in the front court.
Sure. No, I understand that. I'm just saying if I'm San Antonio, I'm doing what I can to keep one of those two.
Yeah. Man, the Sohan experiment hasn't worked for me since Baylor, so that's hope for a whole nother show with you on that one, Pledge. But, yeah, this is Sweep the League, James Pledger. We're gonna close up here in a minute. Here, we got to get his prediction here, Pledge. We got finals happening tomorrow. Let me get your quick prediction here in just a second.
No, you don't want to get into the Penix stuff?
Oh, I hope you wouldn't bring that up. Let me get your finals prediction real quick here. Give me 1 second. We'll get your prediction. All right, this is not working. Okay, I got to get with Shemai on that. But NBA Finals, give me your quickest prediction for the NBA Finals starting tomorrow.
I think it's going to be 6 games probably. And I think it's going to be the Celtics. Like, I understand they didn't have a tough road to get here. I understand that every big star in every series that they played got hurt. There was no Jimmy Butler for most of the Miami series. There was no Tyrese Halliburton. There was no Donovan Mitchell for part of the Cleveland series. Like they were very fortunate. Mm-hmm. But teams that win titles get fortunate. Like there's a little bit of luck involved with winning a title, and you can't tell me when you stack these two teams up side by side, Boston's the deeper team.
Yeah.
Boston's just deeper between their stars with Brown and Tatum, and then you have Derek White and
Drew
Holiday, and then you got Kristaps Porzingis, and you've got Al Horford, and like they're just insanely deep.
Yeah.
Like I love the depth that the Celtics offer and how deep they can roll. But I also think, Derek White's kind of an X factor for that team. Everybody talks about them choking and stuff, but I mean, yeah, they choked last year. They fell short last year. Last year did not go as planned.
But they didn't have Drew Holiday.
The year before, or 2 years before, they lost to the Golden State Warriors in the finals. That's not a choke to me. You made it to the finals and you played a team that is considered a dynasty and lost to them.
Yeah.
Like, that's not a choke job. As good as you think you are, there's a little bit of luck involved. So they've got great players across the board. They are deeper. The Mavs have the 2 best players, in my opinion.
I agree. They have the 2 best players, but like you mentioned with Boston, the thing is, when I saw Boston made the trade for Drew Holiday, I immediately called Derek Irvin. I said, Boston's winning the title. It's over. That was the key piece that they needed. That guy going side by side with Derek White, that gives them the best defensive backcourt that they're going to need, because then it allows more freedom for Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown to not be so focal on the defensive side.
But not just that. They're not switching a Rudy Gobert onto, like, if they're trying to switch, they're switching from one great defender in Brown or Tatum, or at best case scenario, Luka's switching Derek White onto him, right? Yeah. That's his best case scenario. It's, maybe he can get switched onto a Kristaps, but Kristaps is a pretty damn good defender who's underrated and has the length to boot to be able to make up ground on those step backs. So I think they will handle the switching of Luka Doncic and the threat that really ate up Gobert and Karl Anthony Towns. Like that was an issue for them. Like, they couldn't handle the switches. They didn't have anybody. And when the Mavericks struggled, you saw they were able to get through those screens and continue to keep someone on Luka that wasn't a mismatch.
Yeah, so you got it right for me. I had Derek White as a key factor for Boston. Just the way he's been playing in the playoffs. I mean, he's co-MVP of the Eastern Conference Finals for me. He definitely should get all the love in the Eastern Conference Finals. I know Jaylen Brown won the MVP, but Derek White was right there for Dallas to have a chance.
They've got a chance. Like, I'm not selling it like this is going to be a washer.
No. Minimum 6 games is what I've said.
Yeah,
I have Boston in 6, but where Dallas what they need to have happen, it's not so much Luka, it's not so much Kyrie. The player is Derek Lively. He's the main factor. Now, I give the front court check mark to Dallas with Gafford, Lively, PJ Washington. I like their front court. Where I look at it being the best for Dallas, best case scenario, is if you see Derek Lively the way he played against Oklahoma City, the way he played against Minnesota. When he was playing, Edwards, wasn't getting to the basket. He was settling for the jumpers. Karl Anthony Towns was not the same player. And that's what Lively brings. He's bringing that Tyson Chandler-ish type player. And I think if he continues to play that way, Dallas could have that shot to really come out on top and be NBA champs. So Lively's my key to that victory for the Dallas Mavericks. And if it goes to 7 games, I told Derek and Gio last night, if it gets to 7 games, I'm kind of worried if I'm Boston. I don't want to go to 7 games.
I mean, that's what you got to watch out for with all of these teams. Luka's going to get his. Kyrie's going to get his. You can't let PJ Washington or Derek Lively or, Gafford. You can't let those guys beat you. Those are the no-goes in terms of, but I also think that they're not going to be as in a bind defensively if they get caught in a switch on Luka.
Yeah.
And trying to scramble to where his passing becomes his and Kyrie's passing becomes so deadly to where they completely forget about a PJ or a Gaffer or a Lively, and you're just seeing uncontested lobs to the bucket to Lively, or PJ Washington hitting wide open threes because his defender just collapsed on Luka Doncic. Like, I don't think that's going to be the issue with Dallas. You're not going to see the defensive lapses you saw because of the over correction and the just trying to save face on the switches in which Luka was just shaking Gobert. That's not going to be the same issue that you're facing in this series.
Yeah, I do believe, I can see that very well. And that's kind of why I still have Boston winning. I mean, it's just, this is a true NBA Finals where it is legitimately anybody's game. I mean, you can have the best defenders in the league and, Drew Holiday and Derek White. And of course, if you got to switch, Jaylen Brown can, put some length on Kyrie or Luka. But the backstories on a lot of this, Porzingis playing against the Mavericks, Kyrie going back to Boston. I mean, this is a series.
Kristaps going back to Dallas.
Yeah, Kristaps, like I said, former Maverick going back to Dallas. This is one of the better NBA Finals that I'm kind of excited to actually watch. I'm excited for this NBA Finals. So
it's going to be super close. I think it's going to be a great series. It's just going to be hella entertaining, I think.
Oh, yeah, man. Shout out to, again, La Cocina Food Truck. Louis is in here. Go see Louis, man. Best food truck in New Braunfels, Texas. And it's all about taste, Pledge. And Louis and La Cocina Food Truck, they got the best taste in town, man. And I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt here, brother, because you trying to put a good taste in my mouth with this Michael Penix thing. I was trying to avoid it, and I'm not going to be able to avoid it. So my gripe on the Penix thing is, like I told you on the phone, it's not so much the pick. It's where they drafted him. And you clearly said, if you want your man, you go get your man.
If you think he's a dude, get him. You don't play around. You don't, especially at the quarterback position, especially when there's two teams behind you in Denver and Las Vegas just salivating to try and move up to get a guy. If you think there were more teams that needed quarterbacks than quarterbacks, once they start flying off the board and you've identified a guy, don't get cute with it. That's how you lose your guy.
Would you be surprised that I had Penix number 3 on my quarterback rankings?
No.
So I would have been
Penix in a clean pocket is one of the most sexy quarterback prospects in this draft. Like when he is clean and taken care of, he is incredibly accurate. Just dart thrower.
Yeah. I get that. And I was preferring Bo Nix. That was my number 1 guy. After that, I was like, okay, we can wait on the draft. We wait a little bit. And I was a Spencer Rattler guy. I would have loved to seen Spencer in Atlanta. So I was okay with them waiting to get a QB. After Penix was there, I'm looking at Tulane with Michael Pratt. I'm like, Pratt's perfect for this system. I would have loved Michael Pratt.
How many quarterbacks have you listed out?
Have I listed?
Yeah, just now.
So I've listed 4.
I've
listed 4. Okay. McCarthy wasn't. I wouldn't have taken JJ McCarthy. I do not believe in JJ McCarthy.
I do not either.
But then if you look at the top 3, those guys were gone, period. So I'm looking at my other guys outside of Daniels, Caleb, and Drake.
What's the gap you have between Penix and, Pruitt?
Pruitt. So
what's the gap between them?
If we're looking at a 10-foot hole, it's probably 10 feet. It's big.
It's big, right?
It's big.
What's your gap between him and Spencer Rattler?
Ooh. I have Spencer probably in a 10-foot hole about 3 feet. They're pretty close. But I would prefer Spencer.
They're closer for you than me, but Spencer's Okay. Yeah, he's a great developmental type guy that hopefully pans out,
Developmental is a key word
Sure.
because you have Kirk Cousins. And
Yes.
that's the sitting part. Now, it's the
But
sitting part.
But if you have a feeling like, man, I think this dude's going to be a top 10 quarterback at some point in the NFL, or like, I think, if everything breaks right and we got everything around him and he develops and comes along, and even though he never really showed it in college, that maybe potentially he could possibly, with the right amount of work and the right system and not being thrust into bad situations, could potentially, be a starting quarterback one day. Or I think this guy can be a Pro Bowler. Like, you're taking the Pro Bowler. I don't care where he is. Like, if you think that highly about a guy, you go get him.
I get it. I completely understand. That's why I remember hanging up and Gio had called me, and I'm like, Pledge is really convincing me that Penix at 8 was the move. And
it's the move because of the situation. He doesn't have to play right away. He's walking into a situation to where his rookie contract and 5th-year option line up perfectly with the guaranteed money on Kirk Cousins' deal, where it's 2 years guaranteed, and basically they can get out of it in year 3 if they wanted. So you give him time to learn from that Washington offense into an NFL type offense, pick it up, and then being put into a situation. Not only does he have a good offensive line in front of him, not only does he have great weapons surrounding him, but hopefully the defense is built up by the time he takes over. And even better yet, hopefully he's used this time to basically soak in all the information he can from Kirk Cousins while he can. A guy who has been in this league and done it the hard way, that this will hopefully make his transition that much more easier into the league. So many people think, man, if I can just find a CJ Stroud. Do you know how rare it is to find a guy to come in his rookie year on a bad team and fix literally everything in 1 year?
Doesn't happen.
Does not happen in this league. Aaron Rodgers sat. Patrick Mahomes sat. The guys that played their first year, even though they're pretty good now, I mean, Trevor Lawrence was god awful in his rookie year. Like, we were like, oh, this may have been the, situations, supporting cast, offensive scheme, like these all matter and are factors in a quarterback's success. If Tom Brady ended up in Cleveland playing in a completely different offensive system that didn't fit him, is Tom Brady today?
No. Nope. No, I get it, and that's what I'm saying. You go and get your guy, and that's the biggest part that I agree with you on. If you want him, you go get him.
I don't care if the Spurs fans in this upcoming draft, or not fans, but I'm sorry, the front office, if they think Stephon Castle is going to be elite All-NBA type point guard at some point in his career, take him. You don't mess around and think I might get him at 8. Like, if you think that highly of him, somebody else might too.
Well, Castle is the number 1 prospect for me for the Spurs on their big board. I have a Castle, Dalton Connect, and Tejin Saloon. Those are the 3 guys that I've been on.
My favorite thing that I keep hearing is it's very sad with the Topich news in terms of the partially torn ACL. Yeah. But the thing I keep hearing from Spurs, I don't want Topich. I want somebody like Josh Giddey. Topich is Josh Giddey.
He really is, man. It's the same type of player.
Guard who is incredibly smart, has great floor vision, can create, but has no shot.
Cannot shoot. And that is the common factor in majority of these prospects is shooting.
But that's all prospects in the NBA for the most part right now.
There's one guy in the draft that can come in
They're
and
creators,
score.
not shooters. The only pure shooter I see in this draft is Reed Shepherd.
And I actually have Reed pretty low for me. Reed can score the ball. There's a lot of knocks on Reed though.
Is it because he's a first guy in, last guy out type of guy, son of a coach?
No, his
work ethic, quicker than fast.
His measurements, I have concern with his measurements, is what it is. But for me, hey man, you can't go wrong with Dalton Connect. The kid is a scorer. He can shoot the ball. He can get to the basket. He can put buckets up with just the best of them. And
can you imagine pairing a Donovan Clingan with Victor Wembanyama in that front court?
I'm all for that. I'm all for that. But you know what? It's funny.
Would you move up? Would you package 4 and 8 to move up if you could? To make sure you got your guy? If you thought it was somebody that might not be there at 4, if it was like Clingan, who's probably not going to be there at 4, or Rishashare or Sar.
If you truly, truly believe in that player, then yeah, you make the deal. If you believe in them. But what GM in this league looks at this draft like, I have to move up for this guy?
I don't know. Wemby played in France. He was the GM of a team over there. Probably has pretty good insight on how he thinks either Sar or Rishashare actually are played against.
So is Sar or Rishashare going to add 8 more wins, 10 more wins to the team?
Not next year.
So again, why go for one player? And I get you get 2 players, but if you're going to trade up for that guy who you feel is going to make an instant impact, which this draft doesn't really have a whole lot of.
Yeah, that dude's not here, and if he was, nobody's accepting that trade. Exactly. Like that's kind of the point. Is in the NBA, especially with the draft, you have to make your moves in these kinds of drafts because that's where you can make a move. Like that's where you can get a person. That's where like you're kind of looking beyond the curve of the art. I don't care what people were offering. No, the Spurs weren't moving off of 1 last year.
No.
And the Hornets weren't moving off of 2, and the Trailblazers weren't moving off of 3. Like the first 3 picks were set in stone.
Oh yeah. You just didn't know if Miller or Scoot was going 2 or 3.
Yeah. But
that was it.
You knew the top 3 picks. You had no clue, and there probably wasn't a team that was going to talk you out of those trades because it's not like Atlanta was like, I'll give you Trae Young to move up to 2 to get Brandon Miller or Scoot Henderson. No, like that's not how it works in the NBA. You're getting a pocket full of crap and some future picks for what it is. So
yeah, I mean, to be honest, it's weird because I still feel that them going into next season, they're gonna have the same roster pretty much. I don't see a whole lot being done in this offseason. You may see a signing here and there, you may see a trade, but I don't see it happening this season.
I can, but it's I am of the belief of I could see the Spurs doing a million different things, and neither one of those things would surprise me.
Exactly.
I don't know the move that would blow my mind. Like if they acquired like a Giannis or something, that would probably blow my mind. But for the most part, like if they acquired Darius Garland, I could see that. If they acquired Trae Young, I could see that. If they acquired or if he's cut loose here in the next few days and they end up signing a Chris Paul, I could see that, right? If they ended up, signing Tyus Jones. I could see that.
That's the Spurs move right there. It's like Tyus Jones. Well, I'll tell you what, because I know we're up against the clock and I got another thing to get with you real quick on, but you go ahead and ask my buddy Joe Ryan-Eggle this. If there's a move that the Spurs made, and I've been clamoring about this, I've been talking about this, I've been trying to get the Locked On Network to listen to me. If there's a move to be made, how much of a chub would it give Spurs fans if it was 4 and 8 for Lauri Markkanen?
Oh my God!
That's what I've been. I've been on that train since Chicago, man.
Dude, I have been clamoring for Lauri Markkanen since the Saturday Morning Hangover when he was in Chicago first trying to get money. Like, I have been on the Lauri Markkanen to San Antonio train for I think I initiated the train, if I'm to be honest. I have been on this train for so long.
Yeah.
And I've almost given up hope. And then I see the rumors that they may move him. And I'm like, don't give me hope.
Well, it's funny because I've been on that marketing train as long as you have. And I would always tell people, you've got to get him. You got to get him. When the Spurs traded DeMar and I saw Chicago, I'm texting Jeff like, who is it? Is it Markkanen? Is it Lauri? Is it Lauri? Nothing came out. And I'm like,
to me, it had to have been. Like, I'm like, how do you do that deal without getting Mark in return?
Exactly. But this is the time because Utah is in, they're in mediocre Valhalla right now. So if they're not going to want to pay, they've got John Collins, they got Sexton, Jordan Clarkson. They're not going to want to pay a lot of these guys. So your best asset is Markkanen. If you're San Antonio, you're Brian Wright. It's like, how about 4 and 8? And this is my deal. We're going to give you Keldon because of the numbers. The numbers work perfectly. You want Devontae Graham? Take Devontae. You want Zach Collins? Take Zach. Whatever.
You want Malachi Branham? I'll give you a Malachi Branham.
Whoever you want. But if we're going to give you
Blake Wesley, he's yours.
We're going to give you 4 and 8 this year.
The only thing you can't have is Sohan, Vassell, or Wemby.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. You're giving up Keldon, 4 and 8 this year, and my 2025 first round pick, which would be the Spurs. Why? Because
because I want to keep Atlantis.
Yeah, it's not going to. They're going to be They're going to be outside of the top 13. And
hold on, they've got 3. Who's their other? It's Chicago's first round pick.
Chicago and Charlotte. Charlotte's could convey to them as well.
Okay,
so they potentially have 4, maybe 5.
4 is the max because Toronto's conveyed this year.
Yeah, so Toronto's conveyed. So then that's what I'm saying. Give them your 2025 pick because you're going to be a better team with a Vassell, with a Lauri, with a Wemby. And I'm not saying playoff team, but I sure as hell can say that they are definitely playing bound, but they're not no damn straight up lottery bound, top 5 pick, whatever type team. There's no way.
I would move heaven and earth to an extent to get Lauri Markkanen on the San Antonio Spurs. Yeah. You got a true stretch 4 that can keep Wemby at the 5 where he excelled this season. And can you imagine the nightmare scenario of pick and rolls, pick and pops between Wemby and Markkanen?
Jesus, man. It's unreal. It's
like just the ability for those screen and rolls, screen and goes, screen and pop, like just the different things that you could do with the skill sets of both of those players would be dynamically just incredible.
I know. It's amazing. But you and I here are talking about the Lauri train, and it's like if you have that picture in our head and you hear Lauri Markkanen to San Antonio. We got to get that train going. One last thing before we go, man, because I know, like I said, we're up against the clock here. We've got a couple of comments. Tim Gonzalez actually here. I always love these guys. The beautiful bearded bastards. Choo, definitely jumping on that Mavs bandwagon. But you're an
I thought he was jumping on the Markkanen train.
Well, yeah, no, I'm talking about he was jumping on the Mavs earlier for his prediction, but he's jumping on the Markkanen train as well. You're an anime guy. I just got into anime.
What are you watching?
So I'm about to finish Hunter x Hunter right now.
Oh God, great series.
I'm on the last 12 episodes. I just got out of the Chimera Ants, decade-long series for Hunter x Hunter, but I started with Death Note. I love Death Note.
That was so good.
Yeah, Death Note. I saw the movie on Netflix. I like the
movie.
It is all
right.
But with Hunter x Hunter, I'm glad you brought it. I'm glad you've seen it because I just finished the episode where with King, and I gotta forgive me on the names here, where they were playing.
Yeah.
And he was about to die, and she dies with him, and then you have that whole scene at the end where, are you with me? Are you here? So I'm here, and I haven't teared up like that since Artex and Atreyu and couldn't say
good anime can really hit you in the feels.
my
There was
God.
Have you been in on Demon Slayer yet?
I am picking that little bit so my daughter's into it, so I'm kind of getting here and there, but I'm gonna put it together and watch it.
Yeah, that's a really good one as well. Demon Slayer is fantastic. My Hero Academia is really good, and a lot of this stuff's on Hulu right now, or Disney Plus, even because Disney Plus is kind of just sucked everything into it now. All of its other properties. Of course, the GOAT, Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, I have seen some of those episodes as well. Everybody tells me One Piece, but I don't have a lifetime to watch all those episodes.
One Piece is good. I mean, there is a kind of a holy trinity, a triad, if you will, of anime, and it is One Piece, it is Dragon Ball Z, and it is, some people say Bleach, some people say One Piece. Beautiful Bearded Bastards, right? Cowboy Bebop's phenomenal. I've recently started rewatching that again. It's one of those soulfully well done animes. Trigun is insanely good. You feel so incredibly bad for Vash the Stampede because of the things. Seriously, it's kind of like a Greek tragedy in a way. This good person that these bad things befell. It's really good though. Like such a really, really well written story. Yeah. There's so many. Gundam Wing has always been one of my favorite go-tos from back in the day. Like, anime is real fun. You hit me up, you like, hey, I need something to watch. I got you.
I know. I was recently introduced to it. I'm like, okay, let me give it a shot. My daughter's big. We're going to San Japan. We're gonna do all that great stuff this year. So she kind of got me into it, and I'm like, let me check it out. I had some friends telling me, Jeff's telling me, I know you're big into anime, so I was like, let me check it out. But man, this Hunter x Hunter, I was going smooth. I've seen some of the deaths. I saw Gon go, Super Saiyan Gon recently, like massive. I'm like, this is awesome. The death that he gave a couple of that one girl, but then seeing that episode, I'm like, I don't think I've ever been like I said, crushed like that since Never Ending Story.
Yeah,
I mean, that little back and forth was just.
There's some freaking gut punches in anime.
Yeah, no, you know what? I'm gonna text Jeff tomorrow, kind of be pissed off because I'm like, you didn't prepare me for some of this stuff.
You didn't properly prepare me for the emotional anguish. Yeah, Inuyasha is a fantastic one as well.
I was actually debating on just to sit on my couch in my robe and my boxers eating chocolate ice cream all day after seeing that episode, man, because it was a horrible episode, but one of the best episodes I've seen, period.
Yeah.
Not so much episode, just one of the best acts that I've seen in an anime show so far. But I'm definitely going to keep on the anime bandwagon. Hey, he's back in the T10. Sweet. Welcome, man. Right. Hey, nonetheless, dude, we've gone super way over, which I know Samaya's going to probably get mad at me, but no big deal.
Sorry.
No. Not every time we get the GOAT here on the show for Sweep the League. But Pledge, I appreciate you joining us here on Sweep the League, man. It was fun talking Cowboys, going back and forth. You started making me to believe in the Penix, which I do believe in the Penix move. I just got to get over where he was drafted. But hey, you know what? Winning cures all, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
As long as the Falcons are winning and not choking in the Super Bowl, then life is good. But I will say this, dude.
I think there's a return to the playoffs this year for them.
I will take the playoffs because if we get to the Super Bowl and we don't win it again, I don't think I'm going to make it to the very next day. I'm just gonna go ahead.
See, this is the great thing about fandom is like you always get to look at one side. It's like, I don't know. I don't think I could ever take. No, I have never cheered for an NFL team that has ever made a Super Bowl.
Oilers? You were an Oilers fan, right?
Yeah, never made a Super Bowl.
I know. we Atlanta's the bridesmaids. Gonna probably never be the bride, but nonetheless, man, I'm gonna say for a fact that your Texans are probably gonna be a Super Bowl champ before the Falcons, and I'm gonna die a Super Bowl-less fan. That sucks. That sucks bad, man. That's
Look,
terrible.
I love all the love that my team is getting in the media.
Mm.
I also am very excited about the prospects of what they can be. I also know what their schedule looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And it is a daunting schedule. And the fact that you got to go from Kansas City to turn around and play on a Saturday, to turn around and play on Christmas Day on a Wednesday against the Baltimore Ravens, like that's a short turnaround against a really good team that's really physical and added to Derrick Henry, like, and also owned you twice last year.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm aware of the brutal aspects that this schedule kind of provides this team. Like you're playing a bunch of really, really good teams.
Mm-hmm. And you know what's crazy is you and I, we've been rooting for teams that have the biggest, what would you say, the biggest, well, yours had the biggest comeback in NFL history with Houston and Buffalo. And Atlanta had the biggest collapse in Super Bowl. So you and I need to go share a beer, and we need to just get totally wasted on all of our sorrows here when it comes to the NFL. Appreciate everybody joining us here on Sweep the League. We'll be back tomorrow, and we've been reintroducing bits and pieces of Sweep the League history. So we brought Austin Hartsfield back from Sweep the League back in the day. Gio's been back. Derek's been back. Candice Avila Garcia, the queen of Sweep the League, is on tomorrow night. So she's wanting to make a comeback. So, Pledge, I appreciate you coming on. This won't be the last time everybody from Sweep the League will be seeing you. I'm sure we'll get you back on the show here pretty soon. Again, you got to give Ryan Nagel some love for me, man.
Of course.
I got to talk to that guy in a while. So maybe we'll all get together somewhere and just shoot the shit. Definitely not on the golf course, because I don't think I'll be able to shoot under 200 on 18 holes, but we shall see, man. Appreciate you being here, man. Thanks for coming on to Sweep the League. We'll catch you around the next time, Pledge. Again, thanks, man.
Appreciate you, Rudy. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody, for joining in. This is Sweep the League. We'll see you guys tomorrow.